Welcome to the Minorities Report podcast. I'm your host, Antonio Alcazar, and I'm here with...
Jason Technor, taking over your body when your friends aren't paying attention. Studios.
Today, we're here with some January winter movies.
Yeah, so we like doing themes and stuff like that, and we're up north. Y'all might be listening to us wherever you're at. But
Australia, probably?
Yeah, Australia, Africa, South Africa, Brazil.
I think Madagascar is where we have the most
Maybe
fans.
you fleed the Reich and you're now in Brazil and hiding, or Argentina.
Argentina, I think.
Right, exactly. And now you're listening to our podcast, And so it might be warm down there, but it's snowy up in this motherfucker in Wisconsin. We were actually pretty good last month, and then we got hit with like 2 storms back to back, 6 inches. So we are, a foot of snow. Yeah. And my boys up north are even dealing with more. So we went in and we were like, let's go with like some snowy isolationism, sort of movies. And so
they hit better too.
Yeah, bro. Because you're feeling it at the seat. It's just like, watching summer movies during summertime or whatever else.
Yeah.
I always watch these 2 movies in winter. Like it's a yearly thing I'm doing. So this one that we were going with first is The Thing, 1982, John Carpenter.
Yeah, this is my first actual real watch of a John Carpenter movie.
So I thought that too, and then I remembered, we did Halloween during October.
Yeah, that's right. We had seen that one. But like Halloween, I feel like, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe I coded it differently in my mind. But when I was watching it, I was just like, okay, this is the first time that I'm going to like give John Carpenter a chance.
Halloween doesn't feel like, because you've only seen 2 Carpenter movies.
And also,
so far.
Didn't I not really like Halloween?
You didn't
I thought it was
Halloween,
kind of boring.
Right? Yeah, you thought it was kind of boring. But here's the thing, right? To me, this is much more indicative of John Carpenter's style than
this
Halloween
came out after,
was.
right?
Well after. So here's what he came out with.
He's cut his teeth on Halloween.
He did Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, and The Thing. And I love... Well,
in that order.
Yeah. Those are the exact release order. So,
okay, all right. So by this point, he had experience.
He did. And he had 2 movies. He had a movie that was just a hit in Halloween. And he had a movie that was considered like a big cult classic in Escape from New York.
Sure.
I love that fucking
was
movie.
Whatever?
The Fog was an okay horror movie. I mean, it made money, but it definitely wasn't one of these things. Like, that was his next thing after Halloween. And I'm sure people were kind of a little disappointed because it's like, this isn't as good, as Halloween. So he comes out, he has a reasonable budget on this one. Actually, he's been picking it up every movie. He comes out with a $15 million budget on this movie, which to me, when I watch this movie, kind of shocks me a little bit because
he had a $15 million budget.
Yeah, $15 million.
The location, was it really Antarctica?
Yeah. No, not Antarctica. Fuck,
like
where was
Greenland
it?
or some
Yeah.
shit?
It was like some winter ass place,
Yeah.
Denmark or some shit like that, up in the mountains, and it was definitely not Antarctica. But when we get to the behind the scenes shit, I got some interesting shit on.
Looking
all
forward
this,
to
of
that.
Course,
yeah,
right.
yeah, because this movie, it had a lot going on. So yeah, let's talk.
Right.
About it. Let's get into
So
it.
this is Russell's 3rd thing, really, but it's his second.
Third thing,
Kurt Russell.
Period?
Okay, no. So I want to point this out.
Or third thing with him.
He was like a bit actor before. Like he did a bunch of bit stuff, and he did an Elvis TV movie.
I was
did
going to say
kinds
like TV shit.
Right, TV shit. Nothing that you would be
Little spots.
like, here's your thing, right?
Yeah.
He did Escape from New York with John Carpenter. He did The Fox and the Hound by Disney. He was in that. Okay, he was a voice actor in that.
He was like one of the main characters.
Yeah.
Like the dog.
And then this was his 3rd movie. Yeah. So that I really count. Like, because again, he had some small shit, but nothing that I would like go, okay, that's a Kurt Russell thing. This is a Kurt Russell production because he's one of the main characters.
The main character, sure, yeah.
Right off the bat, boy, this comes in with some fucking spooky, like some like mood setting music. Okay.
Okay.
So I want to go right.
Okay. Can I? Okay.
Go ahead.
No. So at this point, I am primed to dislike this movie.
Of course you are.
Yeah. The movie starts and it's like this cheesy looking fucking UFO thing.
Doom. Very Predator.
Yeah, very Predator.
Yep,
It
same
felt
kind of
so
thing.
much like Predator. And then it was like the and then it shows the letters, the thing. And I was just like, okay, this is gonna suck. I just told myself that immediately.
All right, so the music kicks in, right, bro?
Yeah.
All right. So, we talked behind the scenes. We talked about this movie a little bit, not really much, but a little
Mentioned
bit.
it,
And
yeah.
I brought up Hateful Eight. Okay.
Yes.
And so
That's right. You did bring this
here's
up.
the thing.
I didn't get the Hateful Eight vibe like you kinda
wow,
told me
that
you
surprises
were.
me.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll break it down later on as we talk more and explain my thoughts behind that. Tarantino definitely mentioned that he was inspired by this. In fact,
Sure.
Neo Morricone or whatever the fuck his name is.
Ennio
Ennio Morricone,
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
I love that guy's shit. I can never pronounce his name right, but I love that guy's shit.
Crazy Italian name.
So I didn't realize this until recently, actually. Somebody enlightened me in one of my horror movie groups. He did the music for this with Carpenter, actually. So they did this music together.
No, I was gonna say, didn't you say that Carpenter did a lot of his own music?
Yeah, of course. But not...
And that you were like really excited to go see him at some point?
Yeah, man. But not some of it. A lot of his earlier stuff was teamed up with Morricone. So, the Italian Wonder. He interestingly, Hateful Eight uses a lot of music that was cut from this movie.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Oh,
so like
that's
the
cool.
beginning theme is him redoing some of the music that was made for the thing.
And Ennio Morricone did the music for
For
Hateful
both
Eight.
movies, right?
for
Yeah.
sure.
He won the award for that. That's where he won his
That's
award
so
for.
cool.
And that was his last movie, if I remember correctly,
Wow,
too. So,
okay, cool.
yeah, so.
Wait, he didn't do Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? That seems like a very
No, I don't
Ennio
think so.
Morricone score. No? Wow.
I'm pretty sure he's dead, dude.
He died?
Yeah, he died a couple years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure he died a couple years ago, man.
Sure.
It was right around Hateful Eight time period, but
Oh, wow.
I could be wrong, and I'm more than happy to be wrong. But spaceship lands on Earth, similar to Predator. Damn, dude, bro, that beat kicks and I love it. So it kicks right in. You got a helicopter flying. It's
Oh,
this
he
weird-
just passed away.
When was it?
July 6th,
This year?
2020. Just like 6 months ago.
Wow, I feel like it was later than that.
Yeah,
So maybe he did do some work for the Hateful for whatchamacallit. I thought Hateful Eight was his last movie, but I
Sure. I mean, maybe. Maybe.
I could
like, he
be I
just
could be
retired at
absolutely
that point.
wrong.
Yeah.
Helicopter comes in. You're dealing with the Arctic right away. You're up north, shooting at a dog.
And okay, so at first, here's how you know that I'm primed to hate this movie, right?
Yep.
So they got the pup, and I'm just like, oh, what a cute pup. And then there's the helicopter starts shooting at him, and I'm just like, did this dude want to make me think that this is a wolf? Because this is a fucking dog,
Right.
and what I'm saying is like, here's how you know my framing was already like not giving
You
the
didn't
movie the
wanna like
benefit of
this.
the doubt.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even think for a second that he might have intentionally had them shooting a dog. Like to me, I was just like, this motherfucker thought that I would think this is a wolf. Like
So you know what's funny to me is this kind of keys into something I messaged you about the other day.
Yeah.
About gaining trust.
Yeah.
Like how and if you remember, I said if you would have had the Hodor scene from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Spoiler for anybody who hasn't watched Game of Thrones.
Sure.
The Hodor scene.
Don't watch it, by the way.
Right. Was in season 6. Hodor. We find out how he got his name because Bran abused his powers, takes over Hodor. While he's taking over, someone's screaming to him, "Hold the door!" And that's where he gets his name from. And dude, there's no person that can honestly be like, I watched that and I didn't shed a tear at the end.
No, that shit was insane.
That
That shit was
was
insane.
so hard
Yeah.
on us. That same scene happens in season 8, and we're like, oh yeah, that's real funny. Double D's, get fucked.
Yeah.
Like we would hate it because
I would have hated it if it happened in season 8.
exactly
Because they had lost my trust.
Right, and that's what is kind of like what's happening right here.
Right now, I
You
feel
don't
like
have trust.
80s movies have lost my trust.
Right.
Because
Carpenter has lost your trust.
Yeah, Carpenter lost my trust. I just saw back to back or Gremlins, which I was like all over the place
Right.
about, and then I saw the 2 John Hughes movies.
Yeah.
So it's just been a lot of like shit I didn't like.
Yeah, we need to get back to some good shit. Right. So we get to the base. You kind of get a quick take in of all the crew that we're going to deal with for this next hour and a half.
Yeah, they all come out.
They're all doing their thing. Kurt Russell, it kind of comes in on Kurt Russell. He's drinking a drink. He's playing his chess on his computer. This movie, I just realized when I saw this scene, clearly this movie was the inspiration for Queen's Gambit.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's like a 1-for-1 shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, she also breaks the computer and tosses coffee
So
into it.
like you're starting. He goes. He makes a move on fucking BC. You're starting to lose it, aren't you?
Yeah. And then he loses immediately. Like
next move, he's checkmated. cheating bitch. Pours his fucking whiskey into the fucking...
Destroys that computer. I'm just like, I don't know if these guys are researchers or not, but this guy probably just destroyed like $100,000 piece of equipment.
Even if it's not something used for research, it's clearly the only piece of entertainment in this place, and he just ruined it for anybody else.
Like, no, like, this chess game was that fucked.
Right.
Fuck this whole operation.
No one else is going to suffer what I just suffered here by this cheating motherfucker. So, here's a funny thing. The dudes in the helicopter land. They're still shooting at the dog. Like one guy tries to like use a grenade, drops the grenade, jumps to try to save the grenade, but of course he gets blown up. The other dude is like shooting at the dog. Here's the funny thing: the crew comes out because they hear the shots and stuff like that. The dog runs up to them. He's shouting at them. Okay, here's a funny thing that like behind the scenes shit. He's shouting in Norwegian that the dog is a creature. So if you spoke Norwegian, this is already ruined for you, right? Okay, so that's kind of fucked up, right? Yeah.
I like
So of course, people at the base are like, none of them speak Norwegian. They think this dude's fucking crazy. He actually hits one of them in the leg with the gunshot.
Yeah.
So then Gary at the time shoots him in the face, right?
Yeah.
And
breaks the window.
Yep.
Shoots him in the
which
face.
is really fucking.
I thought that was Robert Redford. Like when I first saw him at the window,
Sure.
And then obviously it was someone.
Yeah, too old to be Robert Redford at this time period. So
I'm just used to an old Robert Redford.
No, totally, I get you.
Because you're right. In the 80s, he must have been much younger.
Yep. Then they go to report into like their base that there was this problem with the helicopter and the Norwegians, but Windows can't get a hold of anybody because the storms are starting to.
By the way, that guy.
Yeah.
One of my early notes was what a bad attitude this guy has.
Yeah.
Because every time that they go to him,
Windows, you talking about?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. He's just like real disheveled
Yeah.
and pissed that anybody's talking to him, and he's got his shades on, and I'm just like, hey, you're an asshole, guy. Be a nicer freaking person.
Funny thing about that guy, he's in the Warriors too.
Okay.
His same character. Complete asshole, like the guy who doesn't want to do anything.
Sure,
like everybody's like, come on, man, it's going down in Coney Island.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down there, man. Like, you know, like I'm gonna just stay up here, and you know,
Yeah.
same exact kind of character
What a
and shit,
dude.
right? Yeah, not the person you want to be friends with. So Wilford Brimley's in this motherfucker.
Is he the doctor?
Wilford Brimley is Blair, the guy who freaks out.
The guy who freaks out, starts breaking everything,
yes.
right? Yeah.
So
sure.
that's the Wilford Brimley,
the diabetes
guy. Yeah, exactly.
He didn't look like what I remembered him.
Yeah, because this is probably before you remember him. This is 1982.
Because I remember him during the diabetes commercial.
Yeah. That was like 10 years later.
Yeah, I was just like, this guy is Wilford Brimley.
Yep. Yeah. The cook on roller skate. We're like meeting all the people here. The cook on roller skates.
Yep.
The weed smoker Palmer. The doc.
What was the other black guy's name?
Childs.
Yeah. What was he? Did he have a job? He was just on there.
Just there to be a badass.
Got it. Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Like he probably just like, one of the workers or whatever right there. But no, it is like when I was originally watching this back in the day, I'm like, oh yeah, he's just one of the employees there. There's no fucking way a just employee would be in a research station like this. Like every person, like I've seen things about research stations, is a professional at something and is there for a reason.
And then if you're cooking, it's just because that's what you're doing that day.
Yes.
But there's not like a cook that just
right
there.
Niall's the cook. Yeah, exactly.
Sure, yeah.
Right. And like McCready is like a realistic character because they need the one person who's the pilot, right? And kind of like the tour guide sort of guy.
Sure.
They bring up they're like they can't get anybody on the radio. McCready or somebody, I think Palmer is like, we just got to fly out of here, man.
Yeah.
Shit, I'll give you a lift out of here. And then Gary's like, I don't think so. Well, thanks for thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, and that joke, again, this is how primed I am to hate this movie. I was just like, that was a joke. Who fucking wrote this fucking bullshit script?
I feel like that's like a realistic situation.
Yeah, I hear you. These were all, there's something that I was thinking about when I was watching this movie about how I was like 30 minutes into this movie and I was just like, no, who the fuck is that guy? I just like couldn't recognize how many people they were throwing at me. Like it was like,
I think there's like 12 or something like that.
Yeah, there was 11. Like a slightly overweight guy with curly hair.
Yeah.
And I was just like, where was he? Like who the fuck did they ever introduce this guy? And then I started thinking about Prometheus.
Yeah.
Right? Because in Prometheus, they're just like, this is this guy. Yeah. And then this is the guy who talks like that. Yeah. And they like make sure that you like, there are qualities about every single person that you will fucking remember.
Yeah.
So that when I see him again, I'm just like, oh, there's that fucking guy. Right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, they really didn't care about establishing like personalities you'd remember at this point.
Sure.
They were just like, hey, here's a bunch of guys,
Yep.
and they're doing stuff.
Yep.
Because they were like, let's try to up the realism here. Mm-hmm. I think is probably what they were probably thinking. They were coming from a time where everything was just like not so
Here's
realistic.
the dudes.
Yeah, for sure. And so I was really happy about that. Weirdly, I was just like, I'm really glad that they're not like spoon feeding me every single character's quirk.
Right.
It's just like a bunch of dudes in a
You
facility.
learn about like their things.
Like, I
as
feel
the
like
movie
Childs,
goes
I
on.
didn't even see him until like half an hour into the fucking movie.
Yeah, because it's dealing with different people when they're important to different scenes.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Is
and that's what made me think of it. When that guy made that joke, I was just like, well, this is just a joke that a dude like this would make.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
This is not necessarily funny. Just like that's what he said.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing right there. So at this point, they're like, okay, they know where the base is that these guys came from, so they're gonna go check out the base. They leave. It's like, I think McCready,
and that's
the
when
doc,
he said that.
What's
he
that?
said that when they were like, yo, we got to go check out this base.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll fly you over.
Yeah. So, and so they go over to check out the base, and when they go to check out the base, you see the dog on the prowl, and this dog is very like mysterious at this point, right? Like he's like just walking, and he's very slow to walk.
When he was walking around, I was just like, wait a second. Is this dog going to be a character?
Yeah.
Because they were like so meticulously following this like dog that was looking around.
Yeah, and he goes in, like the dog goes into the room with one of the guys.
And I was just like, weird scene, you know, because at this point, I didn't know that the dog was a creature.
Right,
It was so cool. So like when he was just kind of walking around and they went into the room with the guy and all you see is the guy's shadow, I was just like, weird.
He just wants to go be by this guy.
Yeah, I was just like, who gives a fuck?
Right. You know, it's funny too because like, well, we'll get to it later.
Yeah.
So after that, they find the base. The base is all burnt out, fucked up, and they find the first person they actually find like was burned up. The second person they find like killed himself. Clearly, sliced his fucking neck open, sliced his wrists open, everything like that. Someone's burned up to death. There's an autopsy like thing going on there that they clearly see, and it's weird as fuck. And they at that point they bring the autopsy thing back with them.
And they find like a sarcophagus too.
Yes.
Like a big giant ice sarcophagus.
Right, absolutely. And the dog is really fucking like, it's like getting everywhere, and people are like, dude, Clark, go fucking lock that dog up, dude. Like it needs to go where the other fucking dogs, which like, you know, it's a sled dog, obviously, right? Because it's just like the other sled dogs up there. And okay, so here was my first thing that like hit my realism a little bit, because I've been around dogs a lot and shit, right? Like the minute Clark brings that dog in that motherfucker, those other dogs would be going fucking crazy there. They're like, this is not a dog. Like, they'd be barking like crazy.
At the very least, not a dog I recognize.
Right.
For sure.
Like they didn't even give a fuck.
Even
if
like, they recognize, like dogs are usually like bouncing.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like, they're all over especially those dogs. It's all like huskies.
Yes,
those dogs like.
No,
Jesus,
is that what they're called? Siberian Huskies. Yeah,
for sure.
You're
those
right.
are the most active dogs known to man.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
man.
Now that being said, I didn't even question it, because again, when he brought the dog into the kennel,
you're like,
I still didn't know that.
Of course not. There's nothing to like, unless you spoke Norwegian, there's nothing to like really like get you to fucking go, what the fuck is with this dog, right?
Nope.
Yep.
I didn't even, it was just like the dude, Clark, is bringing the dog into the kennel. That's all I thought.
So, I mean, like, even that, you know, and in hindsight, like, the dog's, like, going crazy would actually, like, obviously ruin the scene a little bit. So, like, it's good that it's not there. It's just a little weird knowing dogs and having dogs my entire life.
Of
and
course,
stuff like they don't even like other dogs. Like, they're like, they're going to check it out right away.
Yeah,
shit, you know?
At the very least, they're checking it out.
Dog Beast goes crazy at this point. It's like, I need to infect more shit. Which is... So in hindsight, is kind of weird.
So when the dogs like all of a sudden look up and they start snarling, that's when I was like, oh, the fucking thing is I was just like, the thing is the fucking dog. And then I was just like, oh, that's why they were shooting the fucking dog. And I had a smile on my face at that moment. I was just like,
now
okay,
you're like,
that's cool.
I love this because like you wanted to hate this so bad.
I did,
and then this happens and you're like, all right, I'm on board. Let's see what's
I was just like, okay, you better not lose me.
Right. And so like it attacks all the fucking dogs, obviously, at this point.
Oh, and it was gross too.
Yes. All practical effects, obviously, and shit.
Actually, that's one of my notes. I was just like, yo, the animatronics in this movie are fucking good.
Yes, man. So like,
so gross.
what I don't like in hindsight, knowing the whole movie doesn't make complete sense to me, is I don't understand why the dog started to attack here, because like the dog was kind of like on the down low. Nobody knew like anything about this dog. Like you would think the dog, knowing what we know about the alien later, is you would think the dog would just chill at this point and like.
Well, maybe because it thought the more things I can infect, the
better chance I have to get out of here.
Yeah,
good point. Good point. Yep, you're right. So the dogs are going crazy, obviously. As soon as this thing starts to freak out, the dogs start going crazy. Clark goes to check what the fuck is going on, and we see some crazy ass shit at this point.
And McCready too. All of a sudden, he hears him. Like he hears.
No, what happens is Clark sees what the fuck is going on, starts to freak out, hits the alarm. That's when McCready runs in.
He hit an alarm?
Yeah, he hit an alarm because the alarms are going off and shit like that. And then they run over there, and
everyone's there.
Yeah.
No, McCready hit the alarm.
Well, you're right.
Yeah, because he hears the dogs barking.
Yeah.
And like without knowing anything, just pulls the alarm.
Yeah. And he goes. So here's maybe what Mac is there for, because like. He tells Knowles to go get Mac, get the flamethrower, and Mac is the one who's supposed to go. Childs is the one who's supposed to go get the flamethrower. Though. He sends Knowles to get Childs to go get the flamethrower. Gotcha. So maybe that's like he's a weapons specialist or some shit like that. Who knows?
Maybe he's like a soldier,
right? Like or he was a soldier or something like that.
That was sent up there.
Yeah, that could be. You're right. So he comes in there. And I love this. Like this movie is. Like, I know you went into this like, what the fuck? Yeah. But this scene is just like perfect to me for like realism. Because like, dude, you're like, hey, go get the flamethrower. You need to get in here with the flamethrower. You come running in there with the flamethrower, like ready to like fire some. And then this like creature.
Yeah, horrific fucking monsters coming from the ceiling.
Like, we're not Space Marines here, bro. We're going to react like, what the fuck is, like,
dude.
Right? Like, okay, so. The thing tries to attack Childs. That's when he finally burns it up and shit. So now we start to find out, like this goes from here to Blair. In the next scene, Blair is like explaining to everybody what's going on with this thing. Like, cause he did the autopsy on the creature that we had.
Oh, and okay. So then, cause then now he's going to do it. Yeah. He does the autopsy on the dog.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, there's like dog parts in here.
Yeah.
Like it's trying to mimic it.
Right.
When he's doing that autopsy, that's actually one of the last notes that I write for a while.
Yeah,
was that it was so fucking disgusting watching him do this shit that I could barely watch.
Yeah,
like it was like really triggering. Like
funny because that same thing happened on the set.
Oh yeah,
Wilford Brimley was the only person who didn't almost throw up from this.
Yeah, it was so that practical kind of puppet thing was so gross that watching him pull shit out of it and like cut it up and stuff was like sickening to me. Which I liked. I enjoyed that like the movie was making me feel gross.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
It didn't like it looked kind of like cheesy.
Yeah.
But in such a real way.
I mean, it's the funny thing is like one of the reasons this movie is so well loved and still cherished to this day is because you have those type of effects rather than like shitty CGI at that point, which would have looked like garbage. Yeah. But because the only reason you're able to feel that visceral grossness is because of the way they did this.
They're really touching some shit.
Exactly.
Looked like it was like covered in Vaseline and shit. I was
It was some fucking disgusting shit. And Blair breaks down like what he thinks is going on here and shit is that this thing duplicates whatever it touches, and it can.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. That's all I was gonna say. I remembered how funny it was when Childs is just like, I don't believe any of this shit, and then the guy's just
voodoo bullshit.
Yeah, voodoo bullshit, and McCready's just like, I mean, it's like shit from space. So like, what the fuck? What answers am I gonna have? Dude? It's like an alien.
Exactly, and like
I like that they were all immediately on board. This is some alien shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are you gonna do, right? Like, and so like Blair, he explains a bunch of shit about this thing.
Yeah.
But he's also keeping a lot of shit to himself at this point because he's starting to worry about things, and we know this because he starts to worry about these things about possibly people being infected in the group because in the next scene
he's talking to the guy Mac.
No, not yet. So they actually have a video from the last camp,
right? Yeah.
And they watch a video from the last camp, and they see these other guys found a spaceship. And this
Can I tell you something?
Go ahead.
That spaceship scene.
Yeah.
where they're looking at that old footage was so cool to me.
Yeah.
I think that's the moment where I was just like, yo, he made the fuck out of this movie.
Yeah,
because it seemed so, there was something so like, almost like ominous,
Sure.
but like real.
Sure,
It was almost like watching very scary found footage where
Yeah.
it was just like, yo, these people died after they did this shit. You know, like, and I felt like that a little bit.
Right.
It was, it was cool how he tied this like very scientific, hey, look, we made a discovery kind of, footage with what we had already seen happen to these people in a way that like I cared. You know, like it was so cool. So in that moment when I was watching this footage, I was just like, this is well made. You know, like
And
that's
this
when
is
I decided I was gonna change my framing mechanism around this movie.
This is when Childs brings up voodoo bullshit, and
Yeah.
while they're doing this, Blair is working on a program to figure out to figure out what the organism is actually doing.
Yeah.
And he feels, and the computer for him tells him that there's a 75% chance one of the people here is infected.
Yeah.
And if this gets out makes it to the regular population, within 3 years, the entire world will be infected by this fucking thing.
It was like 24,000 minutes or some shit like that.
Yep. Windows wants to burn the thing up. They've got the fucking the autopsy thing from the last one. He wants to burn it. Bennings doesn't like that idea. Windows goes to like do something else. Bennings is staying with the thing. This is all kind of happening at the same point in time. We should they're showing us like what each group is kind of doing and shit.
Yeah,
right.
they kind of split up because they're just like, we should go check out this like UFO site.
Yep. And so we see like that autopsy thing is starting to like drip a little bit and shit like that. And it's kind of fucking disgusting. Fuchs talks to
then immediately after.
Well, no. Not quite yet. Fuchs talks to McCready at this point in time. He's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you outside."
Yes.
And they go outside.
I feel like that's what I mean by immediately after, because they go outside,
right?
And they're just like, "Yo, I think some shit might be happening," and then it happens.
Yeah. So he's like, well, what he specifically brings up is that Blair's acted really fucking weird and shit. And
Blair's the guy that was with the dogs.
No, that's Clark.
Okay.
Blair's Wilford Brimley.
Got it. Okay.
Yep. So he talks about Blair has figured out something, and what happens is Fuchs actually steals some of Blair's notes, and he sees his notes that Blair thinks that somebody is probably infected, because right now they only know that the dog.
I was so confused. Yeah, because when I was watching the movie, I thought he was talking about the guy that had been with the dog.
Sure. Well, we will get. That's the whole point of the movie is, and that's why I brought up the Hateful Eight thing. Is nobody really knows who's what and what, and you have so much suspicion being built. And Carpenter does a great job of shading some suspicion on every single person in this film throughout the film.
I thought he did that so well.
Yeah.
When I was watching this, I'm just like, it's so cool how he's not giving anything away.
No.
And then when one of them is the thing, it's just like,
oh shit. Yeah. And you can trace things back later on too and stuff.
Yeah.
So now Windows goes back to the room where Bennings was in. And Bennings' room is a fucking bloodbath, and he sees in the corner, like, there's blood everywhere. Then he looks in the corner, and Bennings is like in the corner getting fucking wrapped up with just disgusting
gross
ass shit. And it's just holy fuck, is this gross? And Windows goes to get people. And he's like, dude, fucking Bennings, come on. Or like, what actually happens is he runs out without clothes. He just has his clothes on, no jacket or anything like that. He runs out. They instantly realize something's fucking wrong, which is like, again, this is like, I like this movie a lot. And I'm sorry I'm playing my hand so much here, but like little things like this I love. Like clearly if me and you were sitting out there talking and some dude come running out in negative 40 degree weather, we'd be like, what the fuck? Exactly. Let's go find
Especially because of the conversation that they were just having. Like, I feel like one of the things that I enjoyed, that I really can say I enjoyed about this movie, was that even though there was a lot of like early 80s style overaction.
Sure, of course.
Every decision made felt genuine.
Yeah, and reasonable. You know, like these dudes were like completely reasonable in the way they handled the shit. Yeah. And so they go back.
The reactions felt earned.
Right.
All of them did. Yeah.
They go back to the room where Bennings was at, and there's nothing there. Like, there's no blood, there's no nothing like that. And they're like, Windows, what the fuck, bro? Like, he's like, I swear there was something here, man. Yeah. Right at that point, an alarm goes off. They're, what the fuck? They run outside. Bennings, there he is, or whatever, right? Yeah. And they all run out to see Bennings.
Fucking grass,
and he's gonna. One of them's actually gonna. I think McCready is like gonna touch him, and Windows like tackles him, and he's like, "No, man, it's not Bennings," or whatever. And they look, and he's all fucked
got these
up,
big ass claws and shit.
Exactly.
And then he like looks up at the sky and starts making this horrible noise, and I was just like, yo, fuck this situation. As soon as they were just like, yo, light his ass up, I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
It made me uncomfortable, the noise that he made. I was just like, that's some alien shit, dude.
Just crazy fucking shit,
it was
bro.
ugly, dude. Like, I really, really loved that scene because it was just so ugly. It made me feel like if I was there, I'd probably shoot myself. I wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah, right. And like, at this point, they're like, because Bennings didn't want to destroy the original find because he was like, dude, this is scientifically so important.
Yeah, for sure.
And
they were like, somebody's going to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right. He literally says that. After this happens, they're like, I don't give a fuck. We're destroying everything. And they just burn the fuck out of everything. Yeah. They bury it. They're not going to fucking deal with this shit anymore. And at this point, we now know that a human can be infected, obviously, as well.
That was like the confirmation.
Right. And clearly, more than likely, somebody is infected. McCready, at this point, he goes to check out the helicopter, and the helicopter is fucked up. Somebody sabotaged the helicopter. While he's out there checking the helicopter, he hears some fucking goings on. Yeah. He comes back inside, and there's like screaming and yelling and shit like that. And
a gunshot. He hears a gunshot. Cool.
Right. Because Windows is this entire time Windows is trying to get a hold of somebody on the radio and shit. And he gets in there, and Blair is freaking the fuck out, screaming.
Like, lost his fucking mind.
And he's specifically saying, nobody's fucking leaving, nobody's coming, nobody's going.
Because at this point, he knows that the whole world is done if they let this shit get out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's just like, no, fuck it. I'd rather we all die here.
Right. than this thing is going to, it's not getting out. We're not going to give any chance. And so that's why, like, he actually is in the room where Windows is trying to get a hold of somebody.
Windows is in the fucking corner now.
Right. He bashed him. He bashed his ass, and he's destroying every piece of equipment that can basically help them get out of this situation at all. And he's just screaming and he's yelling, "It wanted to be us! It wants to be us!" Yeah, we used to always fucking joke about that scene. It's fucking great, man. And they eventually have to they take him down. It takes like 4 dudes to take him down, right? And because
they like all rush him.
Right. Yeah. There's a point where Childs like sweeps him, and he's like, "Hey, Blair, you don't want to hurt anything." Poof! He shoots that Childs right there, and that's when they're just like, "Fuck this!" Or they rush in with like a table to like stop the axe. They beat, and like McCready punches him in the face. They eventually get him down.
Yeah, because when Childs like whispers at him through the door, he empties out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he runs out of bullets
and
completely.
Throws the gun at him.
Gun at him. Yeah, you're right. And so at this point, they're like, "Okay, dude, we can't deal with this motherfucker. We're gonna go lock him up in the room out there."
And just some outhouse type.
Yeah, it's like an outhouse that they have out there. At this point, Blair has started to calm down a little bit, and he's like, "Dude, watch Clark. Clark was with the dogs.
Clark is the dog guy.
Yes, he's the dog guy. You need to watch Clark. Watch him closely." At this point,
I feel like he almost overemphasized. I mean, it's classic misdirection, and almost like a classic by definition because this is a classic.
Sure.
But like, it almost felt like he was really making you feel like it was the people who it ended up way not being.
Yeah, well, so we'll get to all this later on in the movie because at the end here, I'm going to talk about the actual timeline of what goes down here and stuff like that. Because there is, after you've seen it like 50 times, there's a clear timeline of what like is actually going on.
I didn't notice any of that. Right now, you had mentioned it a little bit ago, and I was just like, I didn't fucking know.
Yeah, because you're dealing with like
retrospect.
You're really dealing with a mystery here. Yes. So it's hard to follow everything, and that's the point. Is you want all this paranoia, this isolation. That's kind of the whole point going on here. And so at this point, McCready asks the doctor, "Is there any way we can figure out if anybody else is infected?" And the doctor's like, "Yeah, dude, we can do a blood test because the blood is different than that." Yeah. But guess what? They go to get the blood, and the blood is all smashed up.
Let's go get the blood.
Yeah,
blood's the story.
And this is a cool scene because it's cranking up the paranoia for us.
Yeah,
because there's only 2 people that could have technically got into that blood: Gary, the guy who's like the manager of the place, he's got all the keys for everything, and the doc. And Cooper, that's the doc. That's Gary's the only person who has the access to the keys besides Gary is Cooper. And this is kind of like a big standoff at this point. Yeah. People are getting really pissed. Windows runs to get a gun because he's like, he's starting to lose it. And they stop him. Gary stops him. He's like, I'll fucking shoot you or whatever, this and that.
Yeah.
Then Gary's like, look, man, I get it. You can't trust me either, even though I'm the manager here. I'll put this down. Somebody else. I'll give somebody else.
He relinquishes the gun.
Right, exactly. And at this point,
because Windows runs and gets a gun.
Well, yeah, Windows gets the gun.
Yeah,
right. That's the weirdo dude. Yeah. And so at this point, they're like, okay, the next most normal dude here is Norris. So they're like, Norris, we'll put you in charge. And he's like, I don't want to be in charge of this, right?
Norris is the bigger dude with the curly.
The curly fro, yeah.
Where I was just like, what the fuck even is this?
Right. Yeah, and this is the first point you really notice the guy hardly, right?
Yeah.
And so then Childs is like, I'll do it. And everyone's like, no, you're fucking not doing it, right? You're fucking loose cannon like shit. And McCready's
you're
just
about
like,
to kick all of our asses.
Right.
I'm not
exactly. McCready's like, maybe somebody a little bit more level-headed. So by default, McCready kind of takes over at this point. They prepare the test. McCready goes to talk to Fuchs. Fuchs is clearly not the thing at this point, and he's creating.
Who's Fuchs?
Fuchs is the guy who he's in his room and he's like trying to figure out what's going on and stuff like that. And he's the one who tells him, "Hey, man, here's what we should do to survive."
He's the let's go talk on the helicopter guy, right?
Yeah, same dude. Yeah. And at this point, he's like, "Hey, man, we should all prepare our own food. We should all prepare our own drinks. Only fuck with shit that's in cans and this and that because none of us know, and it seems like a little bit of it can actually infect somebody.
Sure.
It could be something small that could affect somebody." So Fuchs is, while he's studying in there, the power goes out in his room. He sees somebody walk by. He's like, what the fuck? He goes outside, follows the thing outside.
And then either gets killed or kills himself.
No, he finds some cloth, a cloth thing that's ripped up, and it says McCready on it.
Yeah.
So now I think at this point he's like, fuck, even McCready could be it. This is the person I've been confiding in. And it's pretty clear he kills himself. He
kills himself.
Yeah, because he's burnt up.
He lights himself on fire.
Yeah, he's got exactly. He's got some gas out there, and he's got that out there. So at this point, they go to. I think they're going to go give Blair some food. Blair has got a noose in his room because they want to feed him, and he is really desperate to come back inside. He's like,
"Oh yeah,
dude,
that's right." He's just like, "Hey man, I'm cool now.
I'm cool. There was something wrong with me before.
I've calmed down.
I'm calmed down now. I want to come back inside. Let me come back inside." Right. So this is clearly and this is why it's important in the timeline and stuff like that because he's clearly infected at this point. Just to kind of cut the bullshit. He's infected at this point. That's when they find Fuchs's body and he burned himself to death. At this point, it's Knowles, Windows, and McCready outside. They're the ones who brought the food to Blair. They are the ones who find Fuchs's body. At this point, McCready says, "Hey, Windows, go back inside. Knowles, you come with me." And Windows and tell Windows, you tell everybody inside what's going on with Fuchs, that we found him out here. And Windows is like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm going to go out to my post because I turned the light off last time I left or whatever. And you see that the light's on. So the two of them go up to the fucking see what the fuck is going on over there.
Because the last time I was in my room, I turned the
lights off. Right, exactly. So they go back into the main building. Everybody's like kind of chilling, doing their thing there. They're starting to board up doors and stuff like that so people can't get in. At this point, you see somebody's knocking on the door. They come to open up the door. Knowles comes back in. He's without McCready, and he shows the outfit basically that
he found.
Right, exactly.
The torn up the clothes.
Yep, exactly. So everybody starts freaking out at this point because they're like, "You could have been the one," or whatever, this and that, blah blah blah. And actually, at this point, Norris calms everybody down. Yeah. Norris is the one who notices. I should point out too, Knowles coming back, and and he has a heart problem at this point. So because he grabs his heart at this point.
That
you might not even noticed it.
No, because he was wincing.
Yeah.
And when he was wincing and shit, I was just like, oh, is he the fucking alien?
Yeah.
And then he turned out to be the alien.
Well, right. So it's a little bit of a misdirection because he grabs his heart at this scene, and he's like,
yeah, because he was like, it seemed like he was, because he was like fighting it. It almost seemed like. I didn't know that it was a heart problem because he was like, and I was just like, oh, he's like turning.
Yeah,
shit,
so that's probably, they should have made it more like, I noticed it probably because it's like the 30th time I've watched this movie, but they probably should have made it more clear that he grabs his chest, like he grabs around where you would grab at a heart attack, basically, right? So, at this point, they hear some smashing and shit like that, and they run to the other room because they're like, McGreedy's back or whatever, right? This and that. They try to open the door, can't open the door. So Childs busts the door down with a fucking axe. They go in there,
and he's just holding on to dynamite.
Yeah, dynamite. Like, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Burn me up, buddy. We'll all go up here, right? Yeah. And then they try to like kind of rush him and stuff, and then Norris gets hit at this point. Norris like falls over at this point. And it's again set up like you're supposed to think he had like a heart attack or something.
Sure.
It's probably not as good as it should be. That
one got lost on me because I really did think like, okay, he's about to turn.
Oh,
and then he
okay.
did.
Yep. So then they bring him in. They try to revive him. The doc tries to revive him. Hits him with the fucking thing.
Yeah, the defibrillator.
Hits him a second time, poof, and the thing eats his arms off.
Yeah,
right?
It literally tears his fucking arms off.
Right.
Yeah.
And they fucking instantly react to that, flamethrow everything right there.
Yep.
Well, they don't flamethrow the doctor. They only flamethrow the thing somehow.
Yeah, but McCready is that like right away torches the
just torches the fuck out of this thing. So,
which is where I was just like, okay, I think because of this, it's safe to say McCready's not a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Because he was real quick to torch these things up.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's when he won my confidence.
Right. Sure. No, totally. So McCready torches the thing. The head pulls off of the thing. The head turns into like a spider and shit.
Yeah. Oh, what a disgusting scene, dude. Like
run
watching
away.
it like become a spider and like crawling around in the background. I was just like, I hate this fucking creature.
Yep. And a scene that always makes me laugh. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, dude.
And he torches it. Yeah. So at this point, it leads to one of my favorite fucking things in this entire movie, because McCready brings everyone together and he's like, all right, we're going to do something here and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And he's like, got the dynamite in one hand, he's got the flamethrower in the other hand, and he's like, this is what we're going to do and blah, blah, blah. And Gary's like, Gary goes, come on, let's rush him. He can't blow us all up. Yeah. And then McCready just looks at him. And like Childs looks at McCready and looks over at him, like just to look at all of their faces just makes me laugh all the fucking time. Like Childs looks like, are you fucking crazy? So he figures out a way to test the thing because he's like, from what happened to
hold on, because Clark dies. Clark gets shot in the head.
No, that's not yet.
Yeah,
that's later.
No, that's right here.
No, it's not. Again, it's not. So what happens is he starts to get ready to set up the test.
Yeah.
He explains what they're going to do and shit like that. Yeah. And then Clark starts talking to him, and then he tries to do the thing, and he shoots Clark.
Because he's going to stab him with a knife.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
I thought that was right here.
No, it's a little bit after this scene because he explains what they're going to do and shit like that with the blood and stuff. And wait a second.
Because he's just like, I'm going to tie you guys up.
Yep.
And then the guy's just like,
that's
sure,
when
that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then he's just like, that's close enough. And he's like, dope. And then he looks at Childs and he's just like, we're going to tie everybody up. And he's just like, no, I don't want to do that. And then he gets rushed. Shoots him in the head. Oh, no, that's what it was. And then he's just like, I'm not going to get tied up.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, well, then I'll kill you.
Yeah.
And Childs was just like, well, then you're going to kill me.
Right.
And then he raises his hand and he's just like, I'm fucking serious.
And he cocks it.
Yeah, he cocks it and he's just like, I guess you are serious. And then that's when
he rushes shoots him. Right. Yeah, exactly. So, it's not a good idea to rush a guy with a cocked fucking gun at that point.
Like just my dude, he seems pretty serious.
He was literally just about to blow everybody up, dude. Like, so McGready explains from what happened with Norris. Because what ends up happening with Norris is when he burns Norris, part of Norris tries to break away from it to survive. So he comes to the conclusion that each part of this thing is actually a separate organism.
Yeah.
So he's like, You won't be able to. So what his idea is to test everybody's blood, okay? Yeah. And so he even brings
if you
up
separate the blood, it itself is still like sentient,
and it has no control over the other parts of it.
Yeah.
So it won't be able to stop the blood from reacting and freaking out to a violent thing happening to it. So he's like, okay, we're gonna do some tests. First one he tests is Windows, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Windows passes, so he gives Windows a flamethrower.
Yeah.
He tests himself in front of everybody, so shows that.
And everyone's just like, dude, this isn't even gonna work.
This is bullshit, right?
Bullshit.
He tests the doc. The doc's fails.
Yeah.
He tests Clark's. Clark's fails, and Childs is like, I guess that makes you a murderer, then, right?
Yeah.
Next person he tests, Palmer.
Yeah.
Palmer's fucking thing.
Shoots right out of his hand.
Right, and as soon as that happens, Palmer on the fucking couch starts freaking out, starts fucking going crazy.
Then he can't light him up.
Right.
Like the flamethrower isn't working.
Yeah, the flamethrower doesn't work. He breaks out of the couch. He's going fucking wild at this point and spazzing out. Windows then tries to run up and flamethrow him, completely freezes.
Yeah.
Fails his fear check. Yeah. Boom, gets bit right on the head.
Yeah.
The one funny scene because he's like holding his head and flailing around and shit like that. Like, that's just...
Like he's like upside down getting flown around.
Yeah, exactly. So he throws Windows to the side. Windows is all fucking bloody. Finally, the flamethrower works.
Yeah.
He burns the fuck out of the thing.
Lights his ass up.
And this leads to a funny scene to me, okay? Because as he's on fire, he just walks through the wall.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, how flimsy is this fucking wall that's supposed to protect you from this Antarctic wind?
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking really weird to me. But he just busts through the wall. He blows up. They walk back inside. Here's another weird scene. Like,
Windows is like crouched in the corner, freaking
he just walked through the wall. It's not like they patched up the wall or anything like that.
I thought it was a door. It wasn't a door?
No, it was literally just a wall. But either way, it doesn't matter if it's a door or a wall. They bust through it and they don't fix it or anything like that. And they're back to normal. So, Windows is next. Not Windows. Knowles is next. Knowles is the black guy.
Yeah.
When he burns Windows.
Yeah, he burns Windows because Windows is in the corner.
Right, and exactly. So he's just like, right. What is he's not going to leave him be infected or whatever. He's obviously dead. So
that one just seemed like the most unceremonious one because he just walked in and Windows was all fucked up in the corner. He's just like, he didn't even say anything.
Yeah,
he just
exactly.
lit his ass up.
Fucking fired it.
Yeah.
I love the intricacies of the scene because it goes, Niles is there.
Yeah.
He tests the blood.
Yeah.
Niles looks, nothing happens. And then it cuts.
And then he just has the...
And then just has the flamethrower. Exactly. Like, then they test Childs. Childs is safe.
And then he also just has...
Right, he's just like, get me off this fucking thing or whatever. Yeah. And then it cuts. And then he's...
he's just holding the fucking other one. Yeah.
Like, they don't, show him getting up and putting on the flamethrower or anything like that. Just straight
now
up there.
They're all staring at this one dude holding
exactly.
flamethrowers at him.
And we're really rolling here at this point. They've tested everybody. They test Gary. Gary's passes too. Everybody's passes.
Yeah.
So at this point, they're going to go to test Blair.
Yes.
They go out to test Blair, and nobody's in Blair's cabin.
Doors open. Nobody's there.
What the fuck is this? Yeah. They find a little fucking tunnel.
Yeah.
They go down. They go down in the tunnel, and Blair's been creating a spaceship.
Yeah, been making a fucking spaceship.
And
so this thing is intelligent at this point.
Very intelligent. Yeah, and they notice too that the spaceship is actually being made from parts from the helicopter.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, where is Blair though? Right when they're asking where Blair is, power goes out.
Sure. And now at this point they're thinking, or he says, "We're all gonna die."
Yep.
It's not trying to survive anymore.
Yep.
It just wants to go to sleep.
Yep.
So that it can get found by a research team.
Yep.
And so let's just light everything up.
We're dead.
We're just gonna
He destroyed the generator, so we're fucked. Yeah. Within a couple days, we're definitely fucked.
Yeah. Let's just go kill everything.
Let's just fuck everything, right? He's literally like, we're just going to bring this whole fucking place down underneath the ice. They also see, I think Null sees Child run off after something at this point. Okay, so they go back inside. They're blowing up every room at this point. They're just
they're just going into a room, lighting it up.
Dynamite.
Another room, lighting it up.
Just blowing up everything. They go downstairs. It's time to go to the generator room.
Yeah.
Carrie's like, generator's gone. Any way we can fix it? It's gone.
Yeah.
It's fucking just out, They're setting up bombs in the basement so they can just blow up the entire basement as well. Yeah. Gary goes to set up a bomb. out comes Blair. Blair takes over Gary at this point.
Dragging him like his hand is in his face. That is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But then one of the guys, like, while MacReady's setting up the like the bomb's gonna go off.
He's setting up the detonator.
One of the last guy
Knowles.
that's alive, Knowles. He's like looking around.
Yeah.
And then he's
hears
like,
something.
Yeah. And then he starts like silently going, like he doesn't say anything. He
Right.
just like starts going for it. At this moment was my one and only note in like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Which is, you lost me on this one. That was a misstep because he should have said something, or not gone anywhere. You know, because you're like at this point, you know what's out there. Mm-hmm. You know what it does.
Yeah,
you know how it kills.
but like Gary's still out there too. So like he could have
he could have been like, "Yo, I'm hearing something. I'll be right back." But he like skulks away.
Yeah, he kind of like moves
MacReady doesn't even realize.
And you know what I think it could have possibly been too is that he's like, because earlier in the scene there's a little thing where like he's like, none of us are gonna live in this and that, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And he like kind of pans over to Knowles, and Knowles is like, he kind of has this look on his face,
like I don't want to die.
Right, exactly. And like I thought maybe it's like he's like sneaking away to go try to hide somewhere and thinking he can survive through this.
Sure,
and,
okay.
and that might have been it too. But either way, you're right. It's not the greatest scene, but
that was
whatever.
just like in a movie filled with good character decisions.
Yeah.
That was just one of the character decisions where I was just like, that. Why
Knowles is a little bit of a weirdo, though, so that's the only kind of thing that I like chalk that up to. He's not a scientist or anything like
get
that.
A pass.
I mean, if everything else sucked up into here, you would have probably had more of a problem, and I would have as well. So at this point, the thing is like full force. It busts through like the basement. It takes the detonator. So like you point out, it's a clearly smart creature because it takes the detonator from him. Exactly. It eats the fucking detonator. Comes
but
out.
Now it's like this massive fucking.
Because now we have the whole thing together. So it's like all the separate things together, and then this one thing pops out and just like, MacReady's like, yeah, fuck you too. It throws fucking dynamite right on it.
Yeah.
Explodes that fucking thing. And it just starts blowing up everything at this point. And
then Childs comes back.
Well, and now he's like, everything's burning.
Yeah.
And he just goes to sit and basically die at this point. Childs turns up and they just have a conversation basically.
Yeah. They kind of don't trust each other, but then they're just like, listen, man. I can't even. I won't even be able to do anything.
What the fuck can I do? Right?
Listen, he's just like, if I'm the monster, or if you're the monster, neither of us look like we have the energy to fucking do anything about it.
Right, exactly. So, and that's just how the movie. They have a drink.
Yeah,
he laughs, and that's how the movie.
He pulls out some alcohol.
Yeah,
and then that's it. Like
and
just kind of.
And that's the end of the movie. So, and so some of the things with this movie, a couple behind the scenes.
Yeah, hit me with some behind the scenes shit. Yeah.
First of all, when they're blowing up the set. And they're filming that.
Yeah,
that they literally did that.
Oh yeah,
they had to
that seems fun.
Yeah, they had to take down the set basically, and they were just like, "Let's fucking destroy it." And then they started blowing it up and camera filming all the things getting blown up and shit like that.
That's pretty cool.
That's some Carpenter shit right there. There's no way you could do that nowadays. Like even the actors would be like, "I'm not signing. I'm not going to be near this thing or whatever." Right. Another funny thing is that this is originally supposed to have a happy ending, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was supposed to be the happy ending? Like
we don't know for sure, but
yeah.
basically, like MacReady gets out or something like that and makes it or whatever. And then at the last second, Carpenter was kind of like, I don't think people are going to like that story, right?
Sure,
and so there's a lot of like. I have this conversation with a friend of mine all the time because he likes to tease me all the time that Childs is a thing at the end.
Okay.
But I don't. The reason I don't like that side of the story, and I've even heard that like, well, he had a blue jacket on earlier, but then he's got a white jacket on later, which is like would be, but we already seen earlier. Knowles had a blue jacket. He was caught in the storm, and then his jacket is completely white because of the frost of that thing. Yeah, so they've even set up in the earlier that this happens, and he brings up that he was lost in the storm after he was chasing
he literally
chasing Blair.
says like I just got lost in the storm.
Right, exactly. So like that doesn't like fly to me. In the prequel, we get the fact that
there's a prequel.
I'll talk about that in a second. So we get the fact that it can only replicate like living organisms and shit like that.
Okay.
And Childs clearly has an earring in at this point in time.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of things and like people love to debate this.
Yeah.
The thing I hate, so there's two things I hate about that, right?
Yeah.
Like one, I love the ending of Inception. You don't need to fucking know what's it. Same thing here.
I didn't even fucking think about it.
Right. You know,
I was just like, okay, well, they both die now.
Right. Because to me, that's the better ending. The better ending to me is neither one of these men can trust each other.
Yeah.
But they're just
like, they're done.
Fuck it, dude. We're done with this shit, right? Like, our fucking watch is done here.
Yeah,
like, we're fucking done, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I like that. And it's just such a commentary on the human condition, and Carpenter was all about that, like commenting on society and stuff like that. Like even at this point, we still can't trust each other. This, that, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So either way, like there's so many things that
it didn't seem very heavy-handed because I didn't even think about that, to be honest.
And I think
it seemed like this was like a real localized.
You don't think about it too much until you've seen it like 20 times, and then like when you see it 20 times, you're like, well, is it because you want to know more? Like because we want to create more, right? Like we've done it with
more,
Game of Thrones and everything else, right? You want more. So, a couple other things. So, trail of infection.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. First person to be infected is Norris. Okay.
Norris is which one?
He's the one who's in the room when the dog comes in the room.
Oh, he was that guy.
He is.
Okay, but who's Norris?
Norris is the guy with the weird fro who doesn't want to take control.
He's like that guy's the first one?
He's the first one to be infected.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
He's in that room when the dog walks in that room.
Yeah,
okay.
All right.
And we know this because there's only two people with that style hair, him and Palmer.
Yeah.
And you
Palmer's the cool guy.
The punk guy. Yeah, that guy. And like you see that, like, he's clearly got, like, a sweater with a this is all things you have to put together, but clearly Palmer's not wearing that clothes. Yes. So the shadow we see has to be Norris, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
The second one is actually Palmer's the second infected. That's the one we just talked about.
That's the cool guy.
Yeah. We know this because there's only 3 people that wear white long johns, and they find tore up long johns.
Yeah, for
the 3 people that wear white long johns are McCready, Palmer, and Blair. And at this point, Blair is clearly against the thing because he's trying to sabotage the place to not let this thing get out of here. And shit. So he is not. After this, Bennings is the next one. We know that because then he's killed right afterwards.
Bennings is
the guy who's
for
that guy.
Yeah. Ugh.
After that, Blair is the next infected, obviously, because that's when he's calm and I want to come back in. And he's very desperate to come back in.
That's how you know that he was infected.
Yes, because he's flipped at this point in time, and he wants to get back around people and just be with everybody and this and that. And then, of course, the last person infected, the only other person we know for a fact that is infected is Windows, because we see Palmer bite him, but Windows gets killed right there.
Yeah.
So that's the trail of everybody besides possibly Child being infected at the end, which who gives a fuck?
And also, how would he have gotten infected? I guess Blair could have infected him.
Blair could have infected him, but it's like... The thing I don't like about that argument too is every other person we see a clear indication that they were infected. We see a clear indication that a dog goes in the room. A dog we know is infected goes in the room with Norris.
They establish all of them. They earn all of them.
Yes.
They don't go just like, oh well, it just happened.
Yep.
No, they if you look for it,
it's there.
There is a thing there,
right?
For sure.
And the only thing that people go to for Child being infected, they go to 2 things. One, that he drinks the alcohol from McCready, and McCready so this is so dumb. This is like how
reaching it is,
right? How reaching it is. Yeah. McCready knows that Fuchs. Remember, Fuchs told him that let's only eat and drink things that we've ourselves have touched and stuff like that, right? So he hands him the alcohol, and then he drinks the alcohol, and McCready laughs. And like the conspiracy folks are like, that was his test to see. But the problem is, the problem is Childs didn't hear that, so Childs doesn't know that shit. Like we should only eat or drink this stuff.
And also, like, you're not. I don't know. That's not even like a thing that you're gonna give a shit about in that moment. You know, like
fucking dead.
At that moment, you are literally accepting the fact that you are about to die in the snow.
Yeah,
and you're just
cold and miserable.
Yeah, exactly. Give me some of that alcohol. You
right.
know? Like I'm not thinking about the guy said earlier not to. Yeah. I'm gonna die. Man.
And the other thing that people will point to that has at least a little bit more weight. I don't like it still, but it holds a little bit more weight. Is there's a scene where he's wearing that coat. Okay, he's wearing a coat. He's up against the door. Later, when they go back into the basement, they show that door again. The door is open, and there's a jacket missing.
Okay.
So, right. So that's people say that's proof that he was taken over, but his jacket got ripped up while he was taken over, and then he went to go get a new jacket. I know it's very. Again, this
what
is
a
really,
stretch, bro.
It is what it is, right? Let's just say that. So
it just seems like, to me, it seems like an enormous stretch.
Right, I agree. And so the ties,
an enormous, unnecessary stretch.
Of course. And here's the thing: John Carpenter refuses to. He said, "I will never answer if Childs is the thing or not," because like everybody asks that, of course, and he's like, "No, that's not the point of the fucking movie. Like, I'm not going to tell you if he's the thing or not. Like, it's never coming out." And people, I
wish that he would just like have been like, no, why would you? No, not at all.
Right. Well, he has.
Was Childs the? No, it wasn't.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, I prefer. I'm not answering that. Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm not even gonna grace you with an answer for that.
I would have graced him with an answer if I ever make a movie and I leave something like nebulous in a way that I didn't expect, and people are just like, "Oh, did the director intend?" I would like tweet immediately.
Right.
I would just be like, "I didn't intend that."
Okay, so I want to jump to Hateful Eight a little bit as well. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I say this has a lot in common with Hateful Eight is because the whole thing in Hateful Eight is nobody really knows who anybody is in that.
Yes,
like they're all like questioning. It has Kurt Russell in it too. And
nobody knows if the stories that they're telling are true or anything.
Right, exactly. Sure. And everybody knows something is going on here that's not supposed to be going on. You have the guy, Sam Jackson kind of figures it out because he's like the fucking sign. It said no dogs, no Mexicans, and all that. And it has such a it's a similar setting too. Sure. They're stuck in this wintry place in this little fucking place room and whatnot. So again, it's not like a 1-for-1 copy or anything like that, but it's clearly like
and when you had said it last time that we recorded, when you said this movie's going to be a little bit inspired, or the Hateful Eight was inspired by it.
Yeah.
From what I knew of the thing, that they were like locked, like in a place during a snowstorm or whatever, I was just like, oh, cool. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And in retrospect, that's the only thing I feel like that really connects it, because Hateful Eight just had like a completely different vibe, I feel like. But I don't know. I guess maybe not.
I mean, like, it's definitely a different film.
Yeah,
and that's
I can see where the inspirations
right. That's the thing is like Tarantino is inspired by things, and then he creates his own thing that's like the Inglourious Bastards or any of these other things that he's done that are like touch of this, but then it's all Tarantino from there. So we'll definitely do a special month with his shit, even though we've all seen all of his movies. I still want to talk about Tarantino sometimes. Just because of how much we love movies. So all right, so in the end, what did you think of this movie?
Okay, so would I recommend? I think it's pretty obvious that I really love this movie.
Yeah,
this was really great. Yeah. I was so happy to have watched a movie. I feel like I like this movie more than, I think maybe of all the 80s movies that we've watched, I think I like this movie more than any movie that we've watched.
Sure.
I like this more than Alien.
Well, that's a 70s movie, so.
Well, what I mean is just like the movies that we've watched, all of the classics that I have, because we also watched Hereditary, right? And that's the only reason, and the Marvel episode. So like of the old timey fucking classic movies that we're watching, I said old timey for all you fucking Gen Xers.
It's 1982,
like,
bro.
Old timey? That's from when I was a kid. You're old now.
It's 30 fucking 8 years old, bro.
Yeah, for sure. The movie to me was the best one that we've seen so far, because it was like the most like well done from beginning to end.
Sure.
Like Alien was a close second.
Yeah.
And that's just because of the last scene where the alien's in the cubby sleeping while the ship is exploding.
Sure.
Like the end to the and it like slows down in a way that I didn't like.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie never slowed down for me. It was always like fast paced.
Yeah.
It was enough happening that it just kept me in it. I really all of the times that he tried to misdirect me, I bought it. There was never a moment where I was just like, I see what's coming. The guy who was like having a heart attack.
Norris.
I thought that he was turning, and that the director wanted me to know that he was turning, and so like there was never a moment where I was just like he didn't intend for me to see this. I never thought, I never felt smarter than the movie. Sure. And a lot of times that's what kind of takes me out when and we've talked about this issue a lot in media. When we watch a lot of stuff where like you'll notice something and you're just like, that's obvious, and I'll be like, I didn't notice that. Or like I'll notice something and you're like, oh, I didn't fucking see that coming.
That
being smarter than your movie kind of I don't know, it's always better when you're not.
Right.
I feel like it doesn't necessarily take away from the movie when you are, but it's always, I feel like, better when you're not. And this movie, I was not. This movie, every single time it wanted to surprise me, I was just like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And all the characters made decisions that I felt like were real fucking rational decisions.
Absolutely.
And so, and the monster was terrifying.
Yeah, yeah.
The monster was like the practicalness
Just
of the
gross
monster.
and
It was
fucking,
gross.
yeah, exactly.
And it really made me feel like if I was on this fucking thing, like I was dealing with an alien that was going to fucking kill me, you know?
Yeah.
And so because of how engaging it was, how well written it was, and how much, like, really honestly it looked like they cared about all of the minutia, you know, to make this movie visceral. I'm like, yeah, dude, this was a good ass fucking movie, you know? Like, I was pretty happy that I watched it. I'm glad now in retrospect that, one, I've seen The Thing, and two, that it was not an enormous disappointment.
Flipping to me, I definitely feel like there's no way I would not recommend this to anybody. Because, like, even like you, a person who has not seen this movie, the mystery of this movie is so fucking cool. And, like, the paranoia, the fucking everything about, like, the way people react, the way people interact with each other, stuff like it's so realistic, in my opinion, to how a person would act when A, you're confronted with this fucking thing that you have no idea what it actually is, and B, you now can't trust the people around you and shit because you know something's going on.
And in a time before, like, satellite phones and shit like that, where you could just, like, easily get a hold of somebody, like, you're isolated.
Yes.
Like, there's no way anyone's gonna know.
Definitely. You're absolutely right. And, like, that is just, it's a fucking great 80s movie. It is great Carpenter. I'm glad you came on this trip and this kind of redeemed the Carpenter for you. I think you'll like some of his other stuff as well, because this is when he's starting to hit his stride. And in this section, he does a lot of great work, in my opinion, okay? Even like the stuff like Prince of Darkness that's a little bit rough, it's still fun and has a cool, like, message kind of going on with it. This is like one of my top probably 5 horror movies or so.
Yeah, okay.
It's definitely one of like the best sci-fi style horror movies I've ever seen.
I honestly can say that this is one of the better movies I've watched as far as like classic movies.
Sure.
This is one of the better ones.
Yeah.
And I say better specifically because it holds up. Like I would watch this movie these days.
Yeah,
you know?
and the funny thing is, there's I think I mentioned this before to you, but it's like there's a meme about this movie because, like, and the meme is that scene from fucking Back to the Future where Marty's like, you don't like this, but your kids are gonna love it.
Yeah.
And that's John Carpenter but he's playing the Thing basically instead of the guitar.
Why? When this movie came out,
so when this movie came out, people didn't really like it.
What?
They just didn't get it, I guess, and stuff.
Wow.
And it's now like considered one of the most underrated movies of all time.
Sure,
like,
of course.
and it's a classic amongst
that blows my fucking mind.
There aren't horror movie fans that are like, this movie sucks. And there aren't really, like, unless you're like, I just can't take horror at all, that's the only way you could have a problem with this film.
And really, like, I don't know, like, the more that I watch these movies with you and the more that I kind of expose myself to movies that I hadn't watched that are labeled horror, I realize that there is a good reason for distinguishing between horror and thriller and psychological thriller and all that. Because this doesn't seem like horror.
No.
This seems like a thriller.
It's a thriller, but it's definitely got some scenes that you would consider horror, like the fucking body horror of the film.
There was a lot of body horror,
right?
to it,
Exactly.
yeah,
so that's the just to touch on it a little bit because I brought it up before. The prequel, it came out like I think 2011 or 2012.
Oh, it's a recent movie.
Yeah, I mean 10 years or almost. You know, sure. But it was it's so fucking unneeded. Is really the problem.
Sure,
it's the exact same story.
Yeah.
But just told.
You see it a lot.
Right. And it's like it's a soft remake almost because it's like it's those Norwegians, but
interesting.
It tells the story of those Norwegians, how they found it, but literally, other than the dog scene, almost the exact same steps where one person's infected and then one person freaks out, and they even have the standoff in the fucking thing where instead of testing, that's where you get why it destroyed the blood because they did blood tests on that one, but then same thing, flamethrower, everything, like everything was the exact same. They deal with, and instead of like the generator room, they go back to its spaceship, and it's the same kind of fight though and stuff. And
so essentially, you're just watching the same movie redone in 2010.
Yes, exactly, and only worse with tons of CGI.
yeah, of course.
Worse
so
acting.
Anybody who watched this movie who was familiar with The Thing would say, one, seen it. Two, you didn't do the same job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure,
inferior. Yeah. The only
it's one of these like situations where you think, who did you make this movie for?
Yeah, it is one of those things. It's the exact opposite, because around the same time Evil Dead came out, and Evil Dead was like a remake of Evil Dead, and that was actually really good in my opinion. I like that movie again.
I've never seen any of them.
It's on the list, but it will be later on. Especially Evil Dead 2 is the one we'll go with, because there's a weird story behind that. I'll get to it when we get to that movie.
Yeah.
But the only thing I thought was cool at all in the prequel was the end is literally the beginning of this.
Okay, yeah.
Like it like they get in the helicopter and it's like boom, boom, and then it does like the whole boom, boom song, and it goes and then it comes, and that's the end of the film.
Yeah. So you could literally watch them back to back.
Yeah,
and then be bored because you were just like, oh, I just saw this shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Be like, oh, I like this story. But I love this.
Yeah, for sure. This story literally led into the same story.
Yes, exactly. So, all in all, this movie is a classic, and it is can't miss. It's probably
I agree with you.
I like Alien still a little bit better, but only a little bit.
Sure, I feel like that's mostly nostalgia, because I really do feel like this movie was more competent.
Yep.
Not because Alien was incompetent, but just because Alien falls apart in the third act.
Yeah.
And then this one didn't.
Yep, I hear you, man.
All right, dude. So that's the thing.
Yeah, next, we couple weeks, we're going with an old school classic.
Yeah, big one.
A guy who is just one of the top notch directors of all time.
Widely
Kubrick.
regarded literally as some of the best direction that you can have in a movie.
Absolutely. Stanley Kubrick, The Shining.
We're gonna do The Shining.
Shining's going to come at you live in 2 weeks.
It's not coming at you live. We'll never do a live show. I don't know why he says that.
Now, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch.